Hello, it's Eric Holsizer. I'm the lab supervisor for the radio, television, film program. I think most of you watched the basic camera work video that I produced. Today we're going to talk about editing. I have used a lot of different editing systems, probably 20 at this point. I know how to translate what I know from one to another. So please dig in and learn one system. It doesn't matter because they all basically work the same. There are basic steps that they all use. They are managing the media. When we're managing media, we want to make sure we know where the footage that we shot is, and we want to review it, especially in the case of mobile editing. We want to set up a project. This can happen in many different ways, but once we set up a project, that's how we can access it if we need to come back to it later and continue to work or make changes. So it is the record of all the work we've done. Once we've got the project set up, we want to import whatever media we're working with, whether that's video, graphics, music, audio, still pictures, whatever it might be. If we can import it in and the editing system can work with it, that's what we want. Then we want to edit or manipulate the clips to make them do what we want. Once that's all done, very important, we want to review the work. Does it look smooth? Is it clean? Are the audio levels consistent? Or do I have to turn it up and down? If it's not clean, if there's jumpy, jittery frames and just things flying all over, we don't want that. We have to clean that up. If I have to turn up the volume or turn down the volume, I need to fix that before we take our final step, which is exporting the work. When we're working in an editing system, we can't see the work unless we have the editing system. When we export, we make a movie file that can be put on YouTube. It can be sent to your professor. It can be put on Dropbox. You can put it on Facebook. You can do just about anything you want with it. So those are the steps that are consistent with every editing system, whether it's on a computer or a mobile platform. Today, we're going to talk about a mobile platform. Okay, so here we are on the iPad, and we are going to make that same little story I showed you about the man raking leaves using a mobile editing platform. There's a couple here you might even see on the iPad here. There's Premiere Rush, there's Splice. Those cost some money. We were looking for one that's absolutely free and that'll go on both Android and iPhone platforms. I may show you iMovie, which is only available for iPhone, but I understand a lot of you are using it. May show you that a little bit in the future. We're going to use this one called Kinemaster, and I like it, this K right there, because it's available for both the Android and the iOS or iPhone platform, and it's free. Now, it's free, but it does put a watermark on the upper right, which is like a translucent graphic. You'll see that, and you can pay to have that removed. So I'm going to click on Kinemaster, and as I said, the first part of the process is to start a project. Doesn't matter what system you're using, it will have some sort of a project so you can track all of the edits that you make. And you usually will name the project. Well, I have not found a way to name this project, as you'll see here in a minute, until it was finished, and I'll show you how to do that when we're done. But this orange button up here in the upper right, when I click on that, it's going to ask me to select an aspect ratio of our project. So if you recall, we talked a good bit about the 16:9 aspect ratio. That's what we want. And there's our interface. Some tools around both edges. On the upper left, this black box, that's where our video is going to show up. Down below, that's going to be our timeline. And on the right is our toolbox to sort of do what we need to do. So we're going to get started. Now, remember we talked A-roll and B-roll. Ordinarily, I would put all A-roll down, and if it included talking heads, I would put those down. If it included a stand-up with a reporter or someone on camera, I would put all of that down and get my audio all smoothed out. Then I would put my pictures, my video, my graphics, my B-roll on top. Well, we can't really do it that way with a lot of these mobile platforms. They're not quite that subtle. And they basically are going to attach some audio to some video. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our first shot. That's the first thing we're going to put on the timeline. And of course, the first shot, as we recall, was some cars on the street. So that means you got to know your footage a little bit, because as you're going to see when I hit the media button here, in the right hand of this toolbox, up above like 12 o'clock, media. I hit that. I need to find my camera roll. Depending on the device, it may look a little different. You got to know where the footage is. I know mine's in my camera roll. If I hit all, there's my camera roll. Now I know that the first shot I used was this one right here, upper right there. Cars in a driveway, okay? That's what I want. It has imported that. I'm going to check the little check button in the upper right, and then I'm going to take my finger, slide back on the clip here, and I can hit play. Yep, that's what I want. That's my first shot. Okay, so now I'm sliding it, but I can also go to the very lower left button, which will bring me back to the beginning of a clip. In this case, the very beginning of the story. Now I want to record the audio that's going to go with that clip. So to do that, I'm going back up to my little toolbox here on the right. And underneath, at about 6 o'clock, is REC, or record, with a microphone icon. That's what I want. When I hit this, it may ask you in your device to connect to your microphone, permission, and so forth. You'll need to figure that part out. I have done that here. So I'm going to hit this, and you'll see that I get an audio level, which is good. And I'm going to hit start here in a minute, and then you'll hear me record the audio. A lot of cars at home midday at Manhattan Manor. So, now that audio has linked to that video. I'm sliding it back. Again, I could use this lower left button to go right back to the beginning. I'm sorry, it does not do that. Once I've deselected, it does. And then let's play. A lot of cars at home midday at Manhattan Manor. Good. Now what I want to do is trim off that first B-roll shot to match that narration. I clicked on it. On the right and left, you see there are some little dots. That's where you grab it. It's a handle. And I'm going to slide it back, and it will take off some of that audio. I'm going to slide it back. So you got to be careful. You want to come back, make sure you don't cover the audio. You can see the waveform. And right there's good. I'm going to deselect. I'm going to put my timeline at the end of these clips on the right. Very bottom right, there is a arrow meaning go to the end of the clip. There we go. Because our next process is going to be bringing in that first sound bite. Okay, so here we are at the end of the first piece of A-roll and B-roll. We want to find that first piece of sound that's going to be put into our piece, sound full. In this case, it's the sound of the raking. It's not a sound bite. We're going to come to a soundbite next. So we go to Media. We want to go to All to find the camera roll. And now we're looking for that shot of the raking. This gets a little tricky. You got to kind of know your footage pretty well. I think it was right here, this one. Yep. So let's click off of the check point. Manhattan Manor. Let's see what we got here. Okay. We just need that raking sound. So we're going to trim off everything to the left of this. The playhead is right here where we want the sound to start. We click on it. We want to go up here to this tool right in the upper left, trim split. This is not the way I would do it on a normal nonlinear editing system. I want to be clear about that. If you're using a bigger system, this is the most inefficient way to do it. But with these mobile systems, this is the only way to do it. So I've queued it up where I really want the sound to begin. And I'm going to trim off everything to the left by just clicking that. Boom, that's gone. I'm going to hit the checkpoint. I just want a little bit. That's good. Right there, that's good. I'll just move it back a little bit. And I'm going to again highlight it. I'm going to again go here. Now I want to trim everything to the right. So I want that much sound. And then right there I'm going to put more audio. So I'm going to stretch it on out, but I'm going to leave my playhead there because I need it to be that long just to catch that next line of narration. I'm going to hit my checkbox again. Now I'm going to record that second line. Hit record, hit start. Could mean a lot more work getting done around the house. Stop. All right, good. Check it out. This is how we're going to build it up. Hit the check mark, slide it back, push play. I always review. A lot of cars at home midday at Manhattan Manor. Could mean a lot more work getting done around the house. Okay, we're going to have to lower that sound of the rake when I hit my narration. And I'm going to show you how to do that when we're done building up the basic piece. What we want to do next is, the next thing that we had in that piece was a sound bite that we then covered with B-roll. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that sound bite down. I'm going to go to Media. I'm going to go to All. And I believe that interview is this one here. Checkpoint. Now, again, I have to, the whole interview has to go on the timeline. I've not found a way to set ins and outs the way we would normally do on a bigger nonlinear editing system. Work getting done around the house. Okay, so tell me how you spend your free time now that you have a little extra time with the stay-at-home order.
Well, I've really been trying to work on my yard. When I'm working, I don't really normally have too much time for it, so I'm trying to focus on taking care of things around the house with the extra time.
Do you have a lot of leaves to rake up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So right there's what I'm looking for.
Oh, yeah, I got these two big old oak trees. Yeah, I got these two.
I'll go with oh yeah, it's a little tricky. So right there is about where he's going to say, oh yeah, I got these two big old oak trees. That's what we want. So the playhead is where we want to make a cut here and delete everything to the left. To do that, I click on it. I get this little toolbar for clips. Up in the upper left of that toolbox, trim and split. I click on that. You get trim to the left of the playhead, trim to the right. We want to trim to the left. Also split and insert. All those things are good things. We want trim to the left. Boom. That's done. I hit my check mark.
Oh, yeah, I got these two big old oak trees that throw a lot of leaves on the ground.
Stop. Now we want to trim everything to the right. Trim to the right of playhead. Right? Now we're getting there. Deselect. Mean a lot more work getting done around the house.
Oh, yeah, I got these two big old oak trees that...
Let's see if we can trim off the oh yeah part. To trim it off, I select it, and then I'm just going to drag it using those 4 little points on either side. That's how you can trim. Let's see how I did.
Oh yeah, I got the... Oh yeah.
Right about there. So I'm going to put my playhead there to kind of show me where to drag it to. There, that should do it. On the house.
Yeah, I got these two big old...
And let's see if we can get rid of the little yeah. On the house.
I got these two big old oak trees that throw a lot of leaves on the ground.
That could mean a lot more work getting done around the house.
I got these two big old oak trees that...
Now his audio level is not where I'd like it to be. I want it to be more or less the same, and if you look, could mean a lot. As I play it here, they show you the audio level on the left. That's it. The rating's okay. Could mean a lot more work getting done around the house. But my audio is good. It's peaking above 0 a little bit. That's kind of where you want it. In any event, what you want is for everything to be at roughly the same level. So he's a little lower than that. So if I click on him, I'm going to go to a different tool called the mixer. 2 over from trim and split. I click on that. I can just bring up the master volume level here on the left. Just bring it up a little bit. And click my check button and see what I've got there. Getting done around the house.
I got these 2 big old oak trees.
Maybe a little more. Getting done around the house.
I got these 2 big old oak trees that throw a lot of leaves on the ground.
That's a little closer. So you want to try to at least make an attempt there to get everything more or less the same level. And you can do that. There's always a tool for that in any of these systems. We have our raking, which is technically A-roll because it's full sound, but we stretched it on out. We'll talk about how to bring the audio down under that in a minute. And then we have our second track, and then our first soundbite, which we can put video over. And we're going to build this up as we go. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to cover that entire soundbite. B-roll is usually better than whatever might come with A-roll. Now, if he was rolling his eyes or something and you wanted to get that across, great. But we know who was talking here, so we want to see what he's doing. And we're going to put a shot over this entire soundbite, at least one. So let's do that now. Now, again, this is quite different than the way it would be done on a larger nonlinear editing system such as Final Cut or Premiere. You have to link video together on some of these systems. So we're going to first bring our playhead all the way back to the beginning of this clip, and that's by using these little clip left and right buttons right here. We're going to go right to the beginning of that clip, and what we want to do is what's called layer. So that's up here in the toolbox. We're going to click on layer, and then we've got a bunch of choices for things that we could link up to that clip. We want footage, that icon. We want all, and we want that wide shot that we saw with the flower in the foreground. This is it right here. Notice it puts it right on there. That's good, but it brings the whole thing down, and it's a bit of a picture-in-picture right now. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's get it trimmed up to where we want it, and it doesn't matter too much, but let's see what he's doing here. Right here I can see his face. I want to kind of see his face if I can. He's raking in on the last shot, so let's put it right there. So I want to drag it back. Let it go. So I've drug it back. I want to just grab it now, so I deselect. Grab that little film strip just with your finger, put right, and that moves it. I'm going to put it underneath this other shot just a bit so that it definitely covers all of him here. And then I'm going to select it again. We want to grab these little handles here. The one on the lower right is what we want. The one on the upper right is going to rotate it if you wanted to do something like that, maybe level a shot or something. But this, I can just bring it up, make sure it's going to cover him totally so we don't have that weird looking picture-in-picture. You might want that for something else, but we want to make sure it covers all of his soundbite. We don't want weird edges. All right? Okay, I think we've got it here. We want to go down and we want to just deselect, and it'll automatically just make it as long as that. If you notice, this is all dead here. Let's have a look here. Just back it up a bit. Play. Could mean a lot more work getting done around the house.
I got these 2 big old oak trees that throw a lot of leaves on the ground.
Okay, looks good. Let's lower the sound of him raking here just a bit. So I'm going to highlight it, go to my mixer, and bring that master down just a bit so that we don't have too much raking. We really, what he's saying is most important. The check box and just play.
I got these 2 big old oak trees that throw a lot of leaves on the ground.
I might have killed it completely there, so I'll go back and I'll bring it up a little. Mixer, bring it up just a little. Let's have a listen.
I got these two big old oak trees that throw a lot of leaves on the ground.
That's what I want. I want to hear him raking in the background there. And each shot's going to be different depending on where your mic was. But is the A-roll, what he's saying is what's the most important thing about any A-roll. So I want to make sure that's not buried by the beat sound of the B-roll. Okay, so that's how we would cover that soundbite. Okay, so I need to decide what my next shot's going to be, and then I have a second track of audio to lay down. So now we're going to find our next shot. Media, all. And I think we want, I believe it's this one. I'm going to go back to the beginning of that shot. You rake it up a little more. We'll just trim that part off where I'm directing him a little bit. This is going to be the shot under our next narration. One man found time to spruce up. We have another soundbite, so we want to go to our media and back to our interview. Time as opposed to staying on the couch all the time.
Oh, you know, it feels good, and I got these two big old oak trees that.
Okay, so tell me how you spend your free time now that you have a little extra time with the stay-at-home order.
Well, I've really been trying to.
Time with the stay-at-home order. So we're going to trim everything to the left of there.
Well, I've really been trying to work on my yard when I'm working. I don't really normally have too much time for it, so I'm trying to focus on taking care of things around the house.
And we'll trim off the right side. And this will be a little shorter than the one I did before, but for an example here, we're just going to say that that's the end of our A-roll. That's all the sound full that we want. So what we now want to do is we want to put a little more pictures on. Certainly we want an ending. One man found time to spruce up.
Well, I've really been trying to work on my yard.
We want to bring his level up a little bit. First of all, let's do that. Bring him up a bit.
Well, I've really been trying to work on my yard when I'm working. I don't really know.
We'll go to the end. We'll go to, let's see here.
Well, I've really been trying to work on my yard when I'm working.
This time we want to see his face.
I don't really normally have too much time.
And so we've seen his face a little while, so somewhere in here we want to make a little sequence. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut that bite so that we can attach something to just the back end of it. Split at the playhead is what we want right here. It's going to stay in sync here as long as we don't move things around. But now we can just attach a quick ending sequence. So when we want to cover something, whether it be a soundbite or maybe you recorded audio with video with it of you talking and that's kind of boring and you just want to put some pictures, what we want to do is layer. So we've got our playhead right at the beginning of where we want to start covering. We want to hit the layer. We want to hit the footage icon. And we want to hit all, go to our camera roll, and find that shot where he is raking and then he's going to dump it in. So let's see what we did there.
Yard when I'm working, I don't really normally have too much time for it, so I'm trying to focus.
And we're going to time this out and maybe just have the sound of the stuff going in the can as the ending shot. So we want to just trim this right to here and then grab it. Move it over. And then what we'll do is we will highlight it, bring it up full, check out the action and see where he's going.
Don't really normally have too much time for it, so I'm trying to focus on taking care of things around the house.
Pretty good. Because after he says house, we can just put the shot in of it being dumped.
Time for it, so I'm trying to focus on taking care of things around the house.
So we want to trim off our B-roll shot here. After he says house, we want one more shot of the dumping. So we're going to trim everything to the right. And we're going to go ahead and add the dumping close-up shot.
Focus on taking care of things around the house. Around the house. We normally have too much time for it, so I'm trying to focus on taking care of things around the house.
So right there was the action. It's always good to shoot something with something coming into frame because then you can just choose what you want to pick up the shot with. I want to come a little further.
Focus on taking care of things around the house.
To match that, it's got to be around like right there.
Focus on taking care of things around the house.
Right. Good ending shot. That should complete everything except the audio tweaking. And we'll do that next. So when we start at the beginning here, a lot of cars at home midday at Manhattan Manor could mean a lot more work getting done around the house. The problem here is the audio. We want the audio to be nice and loud after my first track, Manhattan Manor. Good. Could now mean a lot more work getting done. Too loud against the sound of my voice. So to do that, we're going to use something called keyframes, which is really great, and they have a neat little system for that. We don't want to break the clip and then lower the master volume of the audio on the clip. That would be too abrupt. We want it to come down gradually as I begin to talk. So we want it full over here on the left. As we get near me, and underneath here I can see right where my playhead is, that's where I'm about to talk. So right a little bit before that, I'm going to go into my tools, and it's this clip we want to affect, the one with the raking sound. So what we want to do is go to my tools here, go down to the bottom, and we want volume envelope. When we do that, we see what's called the rubber band, the audio, and we see it's at 100%, and that's good. But we want it to start coming down. We want to add what's called keyframes. So right up on top here, there's a little circle which represents a keyframe and a plus for add. When we add that, see the circle there? What we're telling it is, hey, make a change. What we're really saying is keep it at 100% right through to here, and then we want to make a change. A change to what? Well, that's going to depend. We need to bring it down. we want to change. So we're going to move it just a little bit forward. And we're going to add another keyframe. And at this keyframe, we're going to say we want the volume to come down to, let's say, 35-40%. That's good. Somewhere in that neighborhood. 31, that's fine. Might be a little too low. Let's bring it up just a little. And we need to listen to this. But now, notice that it's still building up. So right at the end here, we're going to put another keyframe. Actually, nice to get a little of the raking full. So let's put another one here. And this one will bring down. And then that one ramps back up. We've built what's called a ramp right here with 4 keyframes. Let's take a listen from the beginning of this clip. Manner. Could mean a lot more work getting done around the house.
I got these 2 big old oak trees that throw a lot of leaves on the ground.
Folks, I believe that we are done at this point. What I want to stress is I want you to look at your piece, okay? Just like a term paper, you don't want to turn it in with a bunch of mistakes. You want to keep working at it until it's nice and clean. We don't want a bunch of fancy transitions and titles. That's not what we're going for here. We're going for you telling me a basic story and using editing to tell it to me nice and clean. We've been working right along until this point, so let's have a look. We'll go back to the beginning.
At home midday.
I'm sorry, push play.
A lot of cars at home midday at Manhattan Manor. Could mean a lot more work getting done around the house.
I got these 2 big old oak trees that throw a lot of leaves on the ground.
One man found time to spruce up.
Well, I've really been trying to work on my yard. When I'm working, I don't really normally have too much time for it, so I'm trying to focus on taking care of things around the house.
Good. That's a good story. So now we're going to move to that final part of the process, which is to export the movie file. You'll also hear the term share when it comes to export. They both mean the same thing. Save, however, does not. Typically, save on any of these programs means save the edits, the work you've done, not the final project. We want to make a project where we wouldn't need Kinemaster to look at it. So to do that, we're going to go to the share button up here in the upper right. And we've got some nice settings. Now, all video has resolution and frame rate. And they have to do with both quality and the size of the file. What I'm going to ask you to do is, and this is not that important, but to save space on some of your devices and so forth, and knowing the final product that we want, we're going to go ahead, and this is a wheel that I'm sliding with my finger. I'm going to go to HD 720. That's going to save me a little space and still be that 16:9 ratio. We like to do our frame rates at 24. Notice it says cinema. We like that cinema look. Broadcast is 30. And 25 PAL, just for your information, that's Europe. We want cinema. Make sure you have either 30 or 24, please. And then we're going to hit the word export here. It's going to give me a little estimation of the size. 14 megs, pretty small. So we want to hit the word export, and it's going to try to sell me removing the watermark and the premium assets. And, you know, if you want to do that, that's fine. You see the prices there. That's up to you, but you don't need to. It's just understand that when we do this for free, it's going to have that watermark that I think you've seen on the video. So we're going to skip that. And now it's exporting. And this is my finished file here. And you're going to get all kind of things like that. And now we can decide where we want to share this finished file. So we hit the share button.
you need to know where you're putting this footage, and hopefully we're going to get a chance to rename it here instead of this number that popped up. I'm going to hit more. I've got mine to save to files, so I'm going to click Save to Files. I believe here is where I can go ahead and retitle this. I'm going to call this T-Rake's Yard. Okay, now I know where this is going. It's going into my files. So when I hit done, and I'm going to hit save, I'm going to leave Kinemaster, go into my files. There it is.
A lot of cars at home midday at Manhattan Manor could mean a lot more work getting done around the house. From there, I could share it. You can email it if it's the right size. You can airdrop it, and we're gonna figure out with you how to get it to us, because we want to take it and sometimes we put your videos on YouTube and so forth, but you need to know where that movie file is that you created, because that's going to be very important to know so that you can push it on to other places. Again, mine is here in Documents. Some other applications are going to give you choices to put it other places. Wherever you put it, make sure you know where it is, because you're going to be able to do things with it in whatever device you're using once you get out to it. So we've gone ahead and we've edited, and then we needed to export. We did that. That should do it for the basic editing. We want you to really make that basic story first and make sure you can get through the process. Once you do, I always recommend doing it all over again from start, so you really get the hang of how to do it. And once you've gotten the hang of it, there are plenty of other places you can learn about Kinemaster. You can go here and go to help, this question mark. Help is okay. I've looked at this. There's all kinds of things available to you. This community click is pretty good. All of these type systems always have a lot of good information about how to kick it up a little more than that basic level. Right here, for instance, you can do chroma key, you can animate things, titling, all of that. But I want you to please make that basic story for us, and then feel free to play with all of those things. There are many other things you can do. It's a pretty robust system, so I invite you to learn how to make basic cuts, and then take a look at some of the effects and titling that you can do. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing your work.